Hello, hello. Welcome back to the weekly Monday Motivation Podcast, No More Excuses. I am your host, Sandi Ballard, the Badass Business Coach, because I help you realize your badassness so you can achieve the results you desire by achieving the goals that you want to achieve and staying focused and motivated to do all of that. Yes, that is what I do. Make sure you are following me on social media so you can stay challenged and up to date on all the questions and focus and articles that I share based on the theme of the podcast. All right. And just kind of cool to see where everybody is, where they're listening from and all that good stuff. So really appreciate all of you being here. Oh, and if you have not, check out my website, badassbusiness.coach, because there's a DIY section on there, and there's information about my Women's Taboo Tribe, my business accelerator, any workshops and things coming up. And I do have a men's group coming up, starts May 19th. So guys listening, if you're ready to do 4 months, one meeting a month, message me, find me. I only have 2 spots left. Kicks off May 19th. And there you go. It's a business accelerator group for guys, because yes, I do so much for women and I do have a lot of male clients. So let's do this, right? And yes, some Mondays are harder than others when it comes to figuring out something to talk about on this podcast. And sometimes I think that's why guests would be easier to talk about them versus coming up with my own shit or something a client has gone through. Not that something hasn't happened, or especially with focus being the topic of conversation for the last month or so. It's just sometimes nothing really jumps out at me or sticks with me. And honestly, having a week where no major shit goes sideways, it's really just work and fun. And so having things being uneventful is really okay. It's a little scary sometimes, like, did I miss something? Did I sleep through the week? And many times we tend to always wait for that other shoe to drop. I try not to, but it's hard. And sometimes you get at the end of that week and I'm like, wait a second. Nothing, no shit went crazy or sideways. This was a great week. No crazy call or email or text from a client or a friend where I had to talk him off the ledge. No shit going sideways. No crisis. It's all right. It feels good, right? Especially after the previous week where our refrigerator went out and it was distracting me off and on all week. I literally lost probably 7 hours of my time. Now it's okay. It's time to take a breath. And yes, sometimes I still do look over my shoulder. But after last week's podcast where I talked and asked you about what has in your world felt like is out of control or is out of your control, having a week of just being, doing, living is nice, isn't it? Sometimes I find people tend to look for the drama or chaos. They need something to think about. And I have client meetings where, I do have to dig a bit to make sure, but I also let them know it's okay to not have a crazy week and not have an issue to fix. It's sometimes a relief. It's actually a relief, so we can focus on what they want to do versus have to fix. And as we look at what we've accomplished so far this year, many times you'll find you've done more than you think. It's easy to get lost in what hasn't gone well or still not gotten done. Not that I'm going to give you a 100% pass until we would talk through it, because trust me, I have clients who won't work on what they said they would and try to get a pass by saying, oh, but look what I did do. And it's another fine line, because yes, it's great to accomplish things, break down barriers, make progress, but you also have to make sure you're staying focused and working on what you said you would. Sometimes the plan changes based on trial and error or just how things develop, but that it's also what happened, or are you avoiding something? I just spoke with a guy last week who was telling me he has a list of things he wasn't finding the time to work on. So I sent him my worksheet to list those items and think through the why, put priorities to them, and see if they're attached to a specific goal. And when we spoke after he finished the worksheet, he had determined there were some personal distractions as he and his wife are renovating a home. And I know how that, I've built a few homes and renovated a couple. I know how that can steal your day, or just things go sideways when a contractor calls. Plus, I live with an architect. It can be crazy. But it can be mentally, that stuff can be mentally exhausting and take you off track. And a few things that he determined on his list aren't a huge priority. They're just stuff he wants to get done. So it's looking at how to add those to his future to-do list, or as I like to find, the found time list, or as I like to call it, the found time list. You know, if you have a client cancel or something changes in your schedule, you can go to that list and go, okay, cool. I've got this one thing or these three things that will just take up a few minutes, and boom, you can knock them out. It's refreshing. And as I mentioned, for me, I hired a virtual assistant. And oh, I had that long list I had been creating of just a shit falling off my plate that I was able to give her. And now I can refocus on what I want to do versus things that aren't a good use of my time, or I don't know how to fix, right? So as we kick off a new month, yes, it is May already. Let's quickly review last week. How did the month end? How did April end? And what's your goal? Not just for the week, but the month. Because June is going to be here before we know it. And at the end of June, it's halfway through the year. So we'll really want to make sure we push a little bit more, challenge ourselves a little more this month to make sure you're getting amazing things done. 2021, some of the uncertainty still continues, especially as things open back up. And I've talked with people on both sides of the fence, just like all of this, right? Some people like me are super excited, and others are waiting for the other shoe to drop in regard to another surge or what this all means, right? That's the shit that's out of your control. So don't let it make you feel out of control or get out of control, okay? So I want to focus on what you're going to do for this month. So this week I want to know, tell me how last week went, how the week went for you. What's something that you've wanted to do but haven't been able to focus on because you've been in fix mode? You know, for me, I want to grow my women's group, Taboo. So what's something you feel like you've finally gotten fixed? For me, it was that stupid refrigerator. Even though they brought us, the homeowners brought us an 18-year-old refrigerator, fingers crossed, knock on wood, it's still doing its job. And what's your goal for this month? So lots of things to think about. All right. So recap. What's one thing you've wanted to do so far this year, but haven't been able to because you've been in fixer mode? What's something you feel like you've finally gotten fixed? And what's your goal for this month? So again, make sure you're following me on social media, because I'm going to repeat those on social media. I want you to start thinking about that. And contact me, Sandi at sandiballard.com. Remember, Sandi with an I. Direct message me. Get a hold of me. Let me help you talk through the goals and create the plan so you can and will level up. Trust me, I've been doing this for years for clients. All right? If you need testimonials or you need some reason to contact me for help, it's okay. You don't need to be failing. We just want to see where you are and get you to where you want to go. All right, have a great week. Let's start shifting, getting things fixed so we can focus on what we want to do. All right, not versus what we have to fix. Let's focus on what we want to do this month. Have a great week. I look forward to hearing from you. Cheers.